Welcome to our Lead Start Podcast. We are talking about multifamily marketing as usual. We got Caleb on the stream. Thanks for showing up and showing out, Caleb. So we got a nice episode for you guys today. We want to talk about a very specific post that came out on social media, and that'll segue into a couple of different conversations that we wanted to have that we've been thinking about quite a bit this past week. So let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Caleb shared this post with me. Caleb, you always have your ear to the ground on multifamily social media.
If you guys ever need a place where you want to digest more multifamily digital marketing content, LinkedIn is a great place to do that. LinkedIn is it's good and bad for a lot of reasons, but I start every morning 20 to 30 minutes while I'm sipping my coffee. I want to go see what's happening on the very day-to-day levels of the multifamily digital marketing universe. And there's a lot of really good content. And I stumbled upon what Jonno's about to bring up with Connie. Connie had an awesome post that made me stop in my tracks and say, wow, if this doesn't summarize what's happening in multifamily digital marketing really well right now, I don't know what does. So I have time booked with Connie Monday. I believe she is the owner of Refi. I'm not familiar with them, but I'm going to get familiar with them. And I'll read it for us real quick, Jonno.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think the proptech industry is just gaslighting itself about AI. The executives tell me they're revolutionizing, in quotes, the leasing process. Then friends text me at 11 p.m. because they can't find a simple answer about a floor plan on a chatbot. If the tech is so good, why are vacancy rates still a mess? If the innovation, in quotes, is working, why is the renter experience still so broken? We have companies that have been trying to solve this for a decade. Literally, they haven't won yet. It makes me question if we're actually helping or if it's just adding layers to noise between the renter and the door. I don't know. Maybe we're all over engineering a process that really just needs someone to pick up a phone. P.S. We did almost 400 mystery shops. A mystery shop, for those that don't know, is basically they're going to have a team pretend they're a prospect for your property and tell you all about what happened along the way. Only 28 leasing teams of the 400 call the renter back. So calling leads is probably a hack right now.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. I thought this was such a good post. I was really happy that you shared it with me. I actually didn't even know that there was a multifamily social media thing, but I guess I'm not really that active on LinkedIn either. So, it really never came across my plate. But Caleb, you're like the multifamily social media master. It's actually crazy that we didn't have this YouTube channel like 2 years ago.
Yeah, we haven't told the story, but I think that, why we haven't told the story is we were in proptech. We spent a couple years in proptech. So when I see this term, it kind of triggers me a little bit when I hear the word proptech.
Yeah, explain what that means, Caleb, for the people out there who are kind of like, what's proptech?
Yeah, it's kind of a stupid word we've created to make ourselves feel better. That property tech stands for property
technology.
It's a piece of technology that you throw on your property website, and we've built an industry around it. Why did we build an industry around it? I got some theories, mainly because we want to improve or revolutionize the leasing process. And there's a whole bunch of opportunity to do that because multifamily has been behind for so long. So a ton of capital has poured into the space to revolutionize our multifamily process with the goal of exiting, getting bought by RealPage, Yardi, one of the big dogs. They're revolutionizing the process. What she's talking about here is really close to my heart because I feel like spending years in that space, we're not solving the right problems. How do we ultimately know that? I'm going to summarize it with Connie, that we're not leasing at a higher rate. And if we're not leasing at a higher rate, the prop tech you're introducing or the AI that you're introducing to your property website isn't worth it. It's not worth a dang.
If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. So if you're not getting leases, then it don't make dollars.
If you are not improving the old heads and beds, you've wasted time, you've wasted money, you've added confusion and clutter to your strategy. And as Connie said, you're adding layers in between you and that person, or you've added another toll booth operator in between you and that renter. We're going to talk about ILS and how there is a toll booth operator that is holding your leads hostage. But I kind of see AI starting to transform into that. And PropTech's kind of transforming into this space where they're capturing, more leads on your website, but does it really matter if we're not leasing at a better rate down funnel? Would it be better to eliminate it completely and to go back to the basics and pick up a phone, text that prospect directly, call the prospect directly? Would that result in more leases? My gut is yes. I've talked to 3 separate operators this week that don't know each other that all said the same thing. They said the handoff between PropTech or AI on my website to human being, aka that person that's actually leasing your apartment community, is broken. All 3 of them said it the same way, and it made me passionate about the subject to come on and be like, hey, Connie is bang on. 6 months ago, I came to Jonno after I did my month-end review of all of our clients' data, and I was like, I think this is happening. Like, all of these people have adopted some sort of proptech on their website, but leasing isn't happening more down funnel. We're seeing lead volume go crazy, but we're not seeing it translate down funnel. I was too scared to say it 6 months ago, but I'm gonna jump in with Connie here and say, hey guys, I think we've done something wrong. Not that we didn't have good intentions, but this isn't it.
Yeah, and I kind of look at it as two different problems, right? So you've got the AI over here, and it's doing a really good job at what it's designed to do, which is to convert more people who show up at your website and get more leads into your pipeline. But then kind of simultaneously, on the other hand, they're saying, don't work those leads because the AI is doing it for you. And I think that, that's a terrible message for, your leasing team, because obviously their job is to lease. So there's work that is involved in doing that. So if there's any kind of product that's saying you don't need to do that work, to Connie's point, wouldn't it be easier if somebody just picked up the phone? And that's what your leasing team should be doing. That's what they're paid to do. So if the AI is somehow encouraging them not to do that, you've got too many leads where they couldn't even work all of them anyway, and a lot of them aren't quality, and then you've got some kind of incentive for them to just not work them in addition to that. It's really two bad things.
Yeah, and she's using a sample size here of 400 mystery shops, which it's not a small sample size.
That's a lot of shops. I mean, I don't know how long it took them to do that.
It's quite a few, and I think it's what I feel like this has not changed for a decade in multifamily, that if you're not leasing, it's likely not because it's probably for a lot of different reasons, but one of the biggest is probably somewhere in the middle of lead to tour being broken. It may be because you're over reliant on ILS and you're generating a ton of leads for your competitors. We're going to show you why in just a few minutes. But it also may be because your lead management, I'm going to bring that word back because it's died over the last couple of years. Your lead management stinks. And you need to get back to basics of focusing on generating generating marketing qualified leads, getting them into a sales qualified lead, meaning answer their questions about rent, bedrooms, pets, move-in time frame, get them into that sales qualification stage, get them into a tour. That's the heart of what we want to do, is generate more tours, and then close 1 to 3 on site. And then there's not going to be this need for as much noise that we're seeing right now. Get back to basics. I was appreciative of Connie being bold enough to say, I think AI has confused our funnel. It's added an additional layer between you and your renter. When that person just wants to know, do you have a 2-bedroom availability coming up September 1st? And frankly, the AI may be integrated with your PMS, but guess what then? Your human has to be updating the PMS very accurately. And if it's not, then the AI is giving wrong information. Again, just adding more layers of complexity. Would it have been better for that prospect just to talk to the human in the first place? There may be a life hack here. There may be a marketing hack. While we're focused on generating sales qualified leads, we're going to show you how to do that. We're going to talk more about how to do that in a few minutes. But there may be a very simple hack here, guys. You actually want to stand out. Maybe remove that AI off your website. Maybe remove it off a few of your websites. See what happens. Maybe your lead counts dramatically drop by 50%. But I can almost guarantee you, if you have a good leasing team, you may schedule a few more tours. You may have a few more of those tours show up, and you just might lease a few more people if you're texting and emailing back to what we expected in 2015.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point too. I found something while I was in Lease-AI, and I think it's really relevant to this conversation, so I wanted to share it while we're thinking about this. This is a little tiny screenshot that I took from Lease-AI, and it's because I didn't want to show any of our clients' data, because we do get in there and do a lot of work inside of our client's CRM. And this is the early takeover rate, basically the automation from Lease-AI. And if you look closely at what they're saying here, they're saying to improve this metric, please ensure agents are not taking over guest cards. And when I saw this the other day, I was actually on a client call. It was the first time I ever saw it. You have to hover over this little number and it gives you this little informational tip. And then you can see it saying that the number has gone down and it's green, and that's supposed to be good. And they're already at less than 1% takeover. So, I mean, their agents are not taking over from the AI. And Lease-AI is basically saying, great. You've only got 0.63% left to go until you're at 0 takeovers from the AI. Just don't take over any leads. And to me, that was just absolutely shocking.
Yeah, it's And it brings back to her statement. If the tech is so good, why are vacancy rates still a mess? If this technology that's getting introduced is working, and this is a space that we all should continue to push towards and continue to adopt, what should be happening, Jonno? We should be seeing leasing pick up. We should be seeing these properties that are adopting this technology, adopting this specific AI technology, actually increase their leasing rates. That's not happening. I'm yet to experience, and when it happens, I will put my hand up and say yay. But I'm yet to experience a client yet that has introduced these technologies and been blown away with their funnel dramatically improving. Again, they are seeing the increased rates on the top of the funnel. They are seeing more marketing qualified leads at the beginning. More of those leads data is being captured and being turned into a sales qualified lead or being handed over to a schedule a tour stage. But what is really not happening is that schedule a tour to show up and then application rate is not increasing. I have a belief of why that is, and it's exactly what you're showing here. Why is it not happening? Because the AI, we're seeing 99.5% of leads not getting into the agent's hand until they walk in the door. The agent has no idea who they are. Do you think you're more likely to lease somebody if you have no idea when somebody walks into your door? You have not
it's crazy.
And we're expecting that to turn into a better process down funnel, which results in more leases. Sorry to break it to you guys, this isn't going to be the way that we revolutionize the multifamily digital marketing process. If this technology works the way that we want it to, this has to be integrated and work alongside your leasing teams in coordination. Training has to happen. I don't see training happen the way that it needs to happen in multifamily. I never have. But this is so incredibly complex and complicated for a handoff to happen to a leasing agent that should be ready to take on that tour. They should be engaging with them. They should know the floor plan, the pets, the family, the lifestyle. They should know so much about this prospect.
They should know their name.
They should know their name.
You know?
The time they walk in that door. And this is telling us that 99.5% of leads are not being handed off to the agent during this stage, which means it's very unlikely that the leasing agent knows who this prospect is.
Well, and coming back to your point about training, it's so important to have training when you roll out new products. Like, I want to be in any Lease AI training because I'm starting to wonder, are they actually training the staff? And, you have this huge, management, property owners, and they're like, call every single lead and text the leads. And I'm just worried that the training is coming in and saying, no, don't do any of that. Stop doing that. And you'll be fine. So it's like a two-prong, strategy of like, yeah, we're going to increase the lead volume over here, which is like, sure, that's great. That might actually be a good thing to do. But then if you're training them on the other hand of that coin to just not even talk to anybody and not even do the basic job of a leasing agent, that to me is psychotic. That's crazy.
Yep, exactly. Well put. And she summarized it to your point really well at the bottom. She says, P.S. They did 400 mystery shops, which if you don't know what a mystery shop is, it's somebody pretending to be a prospect that's going to go into the leasing process. They're going to go to your website. They're going to submit their information and actually go through your entire leasing journey for you. That's what we call a mystery shop. They did 400 of those. 28 leads of the 400 actually called the renter team back. So 28, I can't do the quick math there, but it's a very small amount of leads called Connie or her mystery team back. What does that tell us? Well, it tells us that this process is not going to revolutionize the space. This is not going to be the way that we eliminate a pain in our industry or we increase leasing at a property. This is not the path until the AI is actually able to solely take that lead from the beginning all the way through the application stage, which again in multifamily is a very unique buying process. It's typically 30 to 60 days from start to finish. There is multiple, if not a dozen touch points that have to take place before they're ready to sign that application and actually want to limit your property. Until the AI can take you from there to the application stage, just adding noise between you and your renter, which we're all doing right now in multifamily, is not going to be the way that this works. And again, I think that Connie was bold enough to go on LinkedIn and say it, put her hand up and say, hey, she's seeing what I'm seeing. She's seeing what we've been talking about behind the doors for 6 months, that, hey, our leasing teams that are adopting this technology are not leasing at an exponential rate. They may be marketing the right way. They might have a beautiful conversion method at the beginning of their of their marketing funnel. They may be capturing more leads. They may even have more tours scheduled, but I'm yet to see a property that's exponentially leasing because they've adopted this AI at the top of their funnel. And again, I think she summarizes it really well. The problem, the leads aren't being contacted. The leads are not being handed off. What we call the handoff between AI and human is just not there yet. Will it get there, Jonno? Maybe. We have ways to go yet, but I think that we should be, as a multifamily community, kind of putting our hand up and saying, well, guys, like, this isn't going to be the way that we revolutionize the process. And again, I'm not saying that we're not going to shift and continue to go in this direction, because I think we are inevitably, but there's going to have to be some more solutions that get mixed in here, or this just isn't going to work.
Yeah, to me, it feels kind of like a death by 1,000 cuts scenario, because it's not like any one problem is just tanking your business and ruining your leasing. But if you introduce the AI and you get this huge, conversion rate increase where, people are showing up at your site and then they're becoming a guest card, even if they're not qualified or they're not really particularly interested, so now you have all this abundance of leads that really aren't going to shake out into anything. And then at the same time, your AI is actively training your leasing team to not talk to anybody, which is crazy. I mean, again, I think that is completely psychotic. Like, that's crazy. Like, why do you have a leasing team if they're not picking up the phone and sending text messages to all of your leads? So it's like a whole bunch of little things that you kind of like, you make this one decision of like, oh yeah, I'm just going to put this proptech on my website and just let it do its thing. And it's like, well, actually, this is having a lot of downstream effect that is negative, and you can't really tie one to the other because it's just a little bit too hard to look at what's happening. I would say that the leasing agents could probably tell you, but people probably don't want to ask them,
Totally agree. I believe that the best revolutionary process that took place in multifamily marketing was Knock. When Knock was founded, it was a user-friendly, easy to understand CRM, customer relation management tool that connected leads that were on your website into a digestible way that the leasing teams could see, organize, get prompted. That was the property tech at the time. I don't exactly remember the year. I met Dimitri in like 2019 at a conference. He's now on a beach somewhere, thanks to RealPage and the big buyout. But that was a revolutionary tech that we needed at the time, because it simplified the leasing process.
Yeah.
It actually organized your leads in a digestible way to actually reach out, to contact, to get to know. It was so simple that anyone could walk in and understand what the lead wanted, how many bedrooms, their name, the basic information. And that's where I think we took a turn as the industry. We're like, this is really cool. And we've just been 1,000 miles since then. I think that maybe opened the eyes to some private equity that funneled into our industry and said, hey, we can do this. This is a very valuable space. But again, with that comes a downside, which is a speed to the lead, speed to having a product that's not perfected. And I think, again, what I'm trying to get at here is we've added too many layers between the renter, that prospect, and your bedroom, your 2-bedroom apartment you're looking to lease. When there's so many steps, so many confusing steps, it adds the opportunity for paper cuts, like you just said. And it does end up killing you at death by 1,000 paper cuts, because to your point, guess what happens to your digital marketing spend? It gets diluted, right? When we are tracking conversion on your website based on these interactions with the lease, and we say, hey, this is value.
Right.
Guess what Google's going to do? It's going to go get you more of that. So to your exact point, the downstream effects of adding conversion around AI is exponential as well, because we are now targeting based on this is valuable. I don't think it is, because the only thing that we care about at the end of the day is leasing, right? Heads and beds. And if it's not improving the process, it's not valuable.
Yeah, so if somebody goes on your website and they ask your proptech, they ask the little chatbot, do you guys have tacos on Tuesday? And then the chatbot says, I don't know. And then, then Google is saying, well, they did chat with the chatbot, and that is marked as one of our conversion actions. So we'll go ahead and mark that as a conversion. And now Google is optimizing for people who want to come and chat with your chatbot. And that, again, to your point, it's not the desirable outcome. We should really optimize for, did I get a guest card? Is it a tour? Things like that.
Well said. And what is it doing when somebody says, I want tacos on Tuesday? That's that's creating a lead, right? A lease is going to create a lead for that prospect, because it's going to say, I don't know, but let me get your information anyway and have someone reach out to you. They're not qualified. They're not interested. They're not anything. And in the past, they wouldn't have got an answer if they went to contact and put that stupid question in. And I actually think that was a better universe that existed, where that guest card, that person didn't exist in our funnel. But now they do exist, and that lead is getting reported up to management of, hey, you had 200 leads this month instead of 100 last month. Why didn't we double our leasing? Well, you didn't have 200 additional sales qualified leads. You had 100 pieces of garbage. We want to see lead to lease. I used to preach, and I still do, a healthy funnel is 8% of all leads that should turn into leases if we follow our multifamily math. I'm seeing 3 and 4% incredibly consistent right now, lead to lease. And again, this is exactly why we've just doubled the amount of top of the funnel traffic, which is not exponentially or at all increasing traffic down the funnel.
Right.
In a way.
So that leads me to another thing that I was thinking about. This is actually a carryover from our last episode for anybody who is actually watching all of it. This is something that we talked about a few times, and we promised that we would share it on this episode. So dutifully, here we are. This is, we're going to migrate a little bit from the AI conversation over to the ILS conversation, because we like to have both those conversations. This is the checkbox that you were talking about. When any prospect goes to apartments.com, I'm here at 5401 Chimney Rock. This is just a random property that I chose that happened to be near my house, so I clicked the first one that came up, and I'm going to contact. I've hit the send message button, and then here it is. Email me listings and apartment related info right there. Listings. What is that listings referring to, Caleb?
Yeah, so this is what we were preaching about when we're talking about layers, or what I heard referred to, and I've referred to it ever since, as the toll booth operator. When we add layers or toll booth operators between you and your lead, whether it's proptech, whether it's ILS, these are the toll booth operators that are keeping you from your prospects. So when you sign up on apartments.com, when you sign up on Zillow, when you sign up on the majority of ILS, there's going to be a listing like this. You want prospects to go from Google or wherever they're starting, and you want them to hypothetically get to your listing. We think that's a good thing, right? Yeah, sure. You have a listing here. My prospect found my listing on an ILS. They get here, they submit their information. Like Jonno just said, they go through this and they say, I'm interested, yada, yada, yada. You want to talk to this prospect now. Guess what your prospect is doing? When they select this, they are saying, I'm interested in listings. Listing is referring to your competitor's property. I am checking a box to say, please send my information to my competitor. It is crazy. We're talking about AI. We're talking about ILS. These things are very correlated in what's keeping you from your renter. We don't want to have an additional layer, whether it is a piece of AI that is not exponentially improving your leasing down funnel, or on ILS. We don't want to have a layer in between you and this renter. What do we really want them to do? Well, to start, we don't want them to get over to the ILS. Why are we so passionate about that? Because if I can just simply get them to your website, I can expect your lead to tour percentage, meaning how many leads turn into tours, to double. The average ILS lead to tour is roughly 10 to 12%. All of your leads that get to your ILS, we expect over a decade of doing this, a decade of studying this data, we expect 10% of these leads to actually get into your property. Why is it so much lower? Why is it half of the leads that get to your website? This is the exact reason. This little box that they are so boldly displaying on their website that nobody seems to talk about it. And I'm going to make sure we talk about it more. Everywhere I go, I've made it my life's work to show, hey, this right here is the reason you're getting crushed on your ILS. It is as simple as you are handing permission to give your lead information to your competitor down the road that may have a better special, that may have lower rent, that may have a better leasing process. I have no idea. But do I want that information in your competitor's hands? Absolutely not.
Yeah, it just seems crazy with how much that you pay for, your diamond package. Like, there's no package that you can buy that's high enough to make this go away. This is on everybody's ILS. And just so you guys can see here, I refreshed the page. I'm hitting send message. this box is automatically checked. And we know users, they're not going to uncheck that box. There's really no incentive for them to uncheck the box. So they're going to get your competitors' listings. That's just the way it's going to go. The first contact that they get. And of course, think about the user experience. I'm already shopping for apartments. I'm browsing apartments.com. I'm clearly looking at a couple of different listings. I found one that I like. And then they're going to send me more listings. What am I naturally going to do? I'm going to go look at those listings, right? So the very first thing that's going to happen after they send a message to your property is they're going to go look at your competitors. There's just no two ways about it, right? So that to me is kind of crazy as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And now imagine this lead gets delivered into your Elise AI or your AI, and the AI immediately starts to engage with it. That's a good thing, right? That's where AI felt like it was the right step into the next level. But guess what we've done now? The AI is now engaging with your competitor's lead in the same capacity, because like we shared last call, the majority of communities, if not, I don't want to say 90%, but it sure feels like 90%, the majority of multifamily listings, property websites now have some sort of AI capturing this information, or it is their primary CRM. So this lead is being handed off. It is immediately getting engaged with AI, which seemed like a win. But when this listing then gets shared with the competitor CRM, which again, this box is allowing them to do that, it is also immediately starting to get engaged with. It is spitting out the special. It is adding noise in your funnel that just brings a whole lot of confusion. We're talking a whole lot of what not to do. We're going to talk a little bit in a few minutes about what you should be doing. But ultimately, again, guys, we wanted to show how confusing this space is getting and how many layers we're adding into actually building a sustainable, healthy, scalable digital marketing funnel that produces real results with an attainable, scalable, accurate cost per lease. We should all be working towards a very clean cost per lease, where we know when we spend a dollar is going to come back to us in a different form in terms of rent and rent growth down the way when they lease. But again, these are the layers that if you continue to run, that you're going to fail. You're just not going to be able to stay competitive. You're going to have to continue to shove more money to them. You mentioned the diamond package. There's a spotlight, I think now. Next year, there'll be another one. Why? Because we all keep saying this is okay. It's not. This is terrible. This is a terrible way to market. There's no two ways about it. If you're doing this, you're not trying very hard in multifamily digital marketing to figure out what is working.
Yeah, cost per lease really is what it comes down to. I see so much conversation that's at the top of the funnel, that's at the middle of the funnel, and that's great. You can have a lot of different conversations all over your funnel. Am I getting enough traffic? Is the traffic qualified? All that. But at the end of the day, I've done the lease report on apartments.com, Zillow, I've done all the different ILSs, and you really get the worst cost per lease on apartments.com because it's so darn expensive. And I think that's why people are always kind of, fed up with apartments.com, but they're also kind of, like we talked about last time, very afraid to get rid of it. But it's like, just look at your cost per lease. It should not be $1,000 per lease. It should not be $2,000 per lease. And you definitely should not be dividing by zero when you have zero leases. I can't get a cost per lease anymore. I just wasted all that money, basically.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And there's a myth that I've heard over and over and over. Well, it just works in this market. You don't understand.
Yeah.
It's the market that it
every
works
time.
Why? Why?
Why
Why?
and how? Prove it to me.
Why and how in this very unique market is this the only thing that works? I guarantee you, I promise you, that there is thousands upon thousands of apartment searches happening in your little market that you're convinced that are not happening. Do you know why I know that? Because apartments.com is there. Apartments.com is in that market. Do you know why they're in that market? Because there is other communities in that market. What you need to be focused on is, how do I get in front of the right amount of leads to fill my vacancy in the path of least resistance in the lowest amount of time, to give my leasing team the chance to actually compete. The way to do that is not to be listing on any ILS. It's to be going to Google, where Google, as we talked last episode, Google search is still king. Get in front of enough searches, track conversion track conversion the best you can, meaning actually create sales qualified events like schedule a tour on your own property website and tell Google, that's what we want. And that's what we do at Lead Start. That's what we're so obsessed over, is actually replacing this strategy with a result of prospects going to your page only, not going and ever having the opportunity to have their information shared with their competitor. What's going to happen, even if we stink at our job, which we don't, if we stink at our job, we're going to double your lead to tour rate just by getting you off apartments.com. That's why I'm so passionate about this, and why I told a demo yesterday of, you should be canceling this contract tomorrow. Whether you sign with us and we run your digital marketing or not, you should be getting rid of ILS tomorrow, because there is a better way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then I was also thinking too about, like, let's say that I have the apartments.com package, right? I'm paying them the $4,000 a month or whatever it is to be on the Princess Diamond plan. And what do they actually, do with that money? There's two things that they do, right? They take it and they spend it on the Super Bowl ad every year, which, that's probably not a bad idea. That's a pretty good advertisement spot. If you're going to buy it, you may as well buy the best. That's fine advertising, right? But the other thing they do is they go and they buy PPC, right? So they're going to take your money to send traffic to their website. And why wouldn't you just take that same $4,000 and spend it not to send traffic to apartments.com, but to send traffic to your own website where they don't see any of your competitors? So to me, it's like no brainer. Come on.
Yeah, it's absolutely a no-brainer. And I hope you hear my frustration is not with how brilliant apartments.com has been over the last 20 years. Because, man, have they revolutionized our industry by convincing us that renters are going directly to, they're going to their URL and they're typing in apartments.com. The Super Bowl ad is a surefire way to get in front of, 20 million people? What happened?
Right.
I don't even know. A lot of people.
And Americans. I mean, you're getting just the right audience, right? It's not really going much else.
That is genius. It doesn't benefit you in the slightest. In fact, it's, again, what we're trying to show here is it's doing the opposite. It's having the opposite effect that you think it's having. By that user getting to your listing and then having your competitor's information shared with you. There is a better way. Take those dollars, run that traffic directly to your website and your website only. There's no need to also run apartments.com in your strategy. In fact, it's only going to create confusion. I'm so passionate with my clients when I'm sitting there and they're like, we're just going to try this out for 3 months. I beg them not to, not because I have any direct interest. I don't care. If you want to run ILS alongside what we're doing, power to you. Why am I so passionate about people not running apartments.com? It's going to create clutter and confusion in a strategy that should be perfected. When you spend $1, you should know what's going to happen. But what apartments.com is going to come in and do and say, look how many impressions we got. Look at how many leads we got. You need to be asking the question, how many of my leads did you send to my competitor? As soon as you introduce that, you're going to add additional layers of confusion, to the top of your funnel. And it's going to set you back 6 months to actually getting to the heart of what you want to know, which is, how much do I need to spend to acquire a lease at this property?
Yeah, it really does come down to that. Coming back to, doing the lease reports, it's like we see the cost per lease with Zillow, we see the cost per lease with apartments.com, we see all that. In my experience, I think, not to, shill for Zillow or anything like that, but I think Zillow does get better cost per lease than apartments.com. So it's always kind of amazing to me of like, whoever decided to buy apartments.com back during the .com boom, like they're an absolute genius, because it's like, it's the SEO play of the year. Like it says apartments.com. It's one word, so it's like they're naturally going to have this like built-in, just absolutely massive audience. And that goes with multifamily, marketers and multifamily property managers as well. Like they're going to be naturally finding apartments.com. And so they have this great kind of marketing engine, but it's like, guys, look at the numbers. Even if you're going to pick an ILS and stick with it, Zillow gets better cost per lease, so I don't understand why the decision is like so difficult in many people's minds. We've gone through this conversation with a lot of property managers, regional managers, owners, and they're just like, apartments.com, I got to have it. But, it's like, but wait, you're like, I'm running the numbers. It's way less for, your Zillow cost per lease, especially Zillow has some flat rate, pay-per-lease products. So it's like, where is this obsession with apartments.com coming from? I don't get it, Caleb.
So we need to transition into a little bit of conspiracy talk. Understand that the last...
Let me get my tinfoil hat.
Yeah, the last few minutes I'm speaking with conviction and passion. the next little bit, I want to go into a little bit more of the conspiracy of what I think is happening. I believe what we just showed you is factual based on a decade of data studying and being obsessed with this. The next couple of minutes is going to be a little bit more conspiracy of what I think is taking place. I want to touch on the pay-per-lease model real quick. If you're going to run ILS, demand a pay-per-lease model. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I still think that there's problems with that. We won't spend too much time on that today. I think it was roughly a year ago. What took place with Zillow? Who did Zillow acquire in the market? Rent.com. Who was the third largest pay-per-click provider in multifamily when Zillow acquired Rent.com? Rent.com. Why did Zillow acquire a PPC provider and then proceed to turn off and not run any PPC? If you go talk to Zillow right now, they don't run PPC. They will not offer you a PPC package. What does that tell you about what's taking place here? There's three giant mammoth of ILS at the top. They realized what was taking place, which was a huge, giant sector of their contracts or relationships. We're starting to shift and see what we've been seeing for the last decade, which there's a better way to do this. And they said, we're going to buy that out and we're going to cut that head off. We're not even going to allow our prospects to see this data, our relationships, our contracts.
They shelved the technology, basically.
Correct. And it bought them a whole heck of a lot more time to continue to run the ILS listings the way they are, because those people then had to go jump to another smaller PPC provider. And again, this is a little bit more conspiracy talk, but there had to have been some calculation there that said, we're going to go buy this primarily large PPC provider. Rents.com's power was PPC. The majority of their income, their business revenue was PPC clients in multifamily. They bought them out and then didn't proceed to acquire those contracts and enable them. Do you know why we know that? Because we had so many of those rent clients come over to us and say, I need a new PPC provider.
Wow.
And I kept saying, why is Zillow not offering you PPC? Like, what are you talking about? So ever since then, I've been on this like mind journey of why did they do that? And the further we get out, the more I'm realizing I believe it was to eliminate this traffic source in the market and to continue to push the ILS narrative, right? That this is the way that users are going to go because they have no other option. And I think that's what we need to break in multifamily. Is it ever going to be broken? I don't know. And then lastly, again, down the conspiracy path of why, Jonno? Why is apartments.com so dominant? Well, respectfully, there is a demographic in multifamily that's been here for 20 years. God bless them. They're incredible people. Once you're in multifamily forever. Those relationships started 10 and 20 years ago. Those apartments.com reps were showing up weekly with donuts. They were handing the Super Bowl the Super Bowl tickets over. They do the big Tesla giveaway at NAA every year, right? They come in with this boatloads of cash and they are keeping those relationships close. So when a new, great, more obvious strategy gets put in front of them, those regionals or those directors or whoever it may be, they're really close to that apartments.com rep. And they don't want to disappoint that apartments.com rep. They don't want those donuts. They don't want those tickets. They don't want those cars. They don't want those whatever to disappear. This is my tinfoil hat. But again, why have we not adopted a clear, more concise digital marketing strategy? Because apartments.com understands their key stakeholder, that regional that's been there for 20 years. And we see it time and time again. Jonno and I have been in those conversations time and time again of, I just feel like we should be using apartments.com. And I'm like, were you in the room with me the last 30 minutes when I showed you that you had one lease with them in the last 3 months?
Yeah.
Why do you feel like you need them? Again, I think some of this comes back to what makes us feel really safe and secure. It's that thing that's always been there.
Well, as we take off our conspiracy tinfoil hat, I'll just caveat all of that by saying allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah, that's a good word. Again, we went from kind of speaking from data and true experience where we know your lead tour will be half of what it will be with direct traffic to your website to why do we think it is this way? Why can't we get away from it? So please understand the difference. But I do think it is important to continue to ask those questions. In digital marketing, you should be data driven. You should be always poking and prying. And I encourage my clients all the time is question me, challenge the data I'm putting in front of you, because you will get better. Your funnel will become more clear. Continue to question what you're doing. and clarity will be brought when you ask, why are we using this? What is the reason? I would encourage everybody, do a lease analysis of the last 12 months. Look at your PPC, your property website in comparison to your ILS. Once you do that, it's going to be clear and obvious. Come over to leadstartmarketing.com. Like we had 3 people do this week. Book a consultation in the top right. Let's talk about it. Let's show you how actually easy it can be to get away. And you'll never go back. The majority of our clients never really end up going back.
So let's say I want to do this lease analysis like you just said, right? And I've done these lease analysis before. I mentioned I've done them plenty of times. So I want to kind of talk through like what steps that actually takes if you wanted to run that, just for anybody out there who just wants to do the thought experiment like we're saying to do and run it on your own data, right? So you're going to get into your CRM and you're going to go find all your leases that you got for the last 30 days. And then you should be able to run something that looks like it says marketing sources report. And that's going to break down where those leads came from in terms of what marketing source they originated from. Now, some of them, like Elise AI, you may be able to turn on something that's like multi-touch attribution, where it says, okay, they started at your website, but they also looked at you at apartments.com. And then they say, okay, well, it was both of those. But most of the CRMs out there today are single touch attribution. So you may not be able to get like the absolute best attribution, because we know that everybody, is out there looking at multiple places. They're going to see your website. They're going to see apartments.com. They might see a few others, an apartment list or something like that. So see if you can find that marketing sources report that breaks everything out by sources. Now, there is one caveat there. If you're not using any kind of tracking, then you may not have those sources, divided out in a nice, into buckets where you can say, this is where I got all the leads from and this is where I got all the leases from. So the tracking is, one of those things that's a little bit advanced. That's something that we do for our clients. We make sure that it's all set up. We make sure that we've got, tracking, not just for our sources that we actually sell you, but for all your sources, so that you can really identify what's working in your funnel. So it's one of the benefits of working with us, because we really take it seriously what your whole marketing funnel looks like, not just the products that we sell you. And if we know something like how to operate your CRM and set up the tracking, we're certainly going to sit with you, give you the time, and make sure that that gets done so that we can report success, not only for our campaigns, but for all of your campaigns. So if you are able to get that marketing sources report, it should really be clear of like, this is how many leads you got from this source and that source and the other source, how many tours, the same thing, and how many leases. So you should be able to say, okay, well, if I got 3 leases from apartments.com and my apartments.com package cost me a total of, $3,000, then that's $1,000 per lease, which is, obviously really high. With our PPC, we're closer in the $300 range per lease. So we consider that to be pretty reasonable. If you buy, correct me on this one, Caleb, because I don't remember it. If you get the flat fee lease model from Zillow, what do they charge per lease?
I've seen it fluctuate between like $550 and $800. It's going to depend on your market. It's going to depend on how many people are in that market. Again, it's a better model to chase the pay-per-lease model for sure. If you're going to do anything, do that. I think the challenge with that, which ties into your single touch attribution, is if they get to their listing, if they get to the Zillow listing first, and you are a single touch attribution, Zillow is then taking credit for that lease, and you will pay them for that lease.
True.
Were they going to find your website anyway? Were they going to end up at your property anyway? That's a really good practical example of why we don't even want to introduce ILS at all. It's not that they won't end up at an ILS listing, but again, as I shared, they're going to have 8 to 10 marketing touch points. That's tried and true data in multifamily before they sign a lease from day one to day end. It's 10 to 12 touch points. They've been to your website. They've been to your social. They've been to your Google My Business. They've looked at your reviews. They're doing all of these things. Zillow's taking credit for the first one. And then they're charging you on that lease. That's why I hate it. I think, again, going back to why don't we even want to do that? Because they're only getting credit for that first touch, but that wasn't going to be the thing that made them lease. That was going to be how they found you. You should have been taking that money and putting it over to PPC anyway. That's going to eliminate your market from continuing to allow ILS to dominate. As Jonno shared, those dollars are being reinvested to compete with your PPC campaigns. It's why we've all continued to be stuck for so long, is because we won't rip the Band-Aids. There's a very clear and easy way to do it. I don't even think running the pay-per-lease model really makes a whole lot of sense unless you're in a real pickle, unless you're really stuck, and you're not able to get off the ground quickly, or you need a whole lot of leasing at once. But again, kind of bringing it full circle to what you mentioned with the first touch attribution, we don't want to look at first touch attribution as gospel. You should be looking at multi-touch. You should be looking at where did they go from here to second, to third, to fourth, to fifth, and understand your buying journey. And most importantly, understand that you probably were going to be getting them if you could get them directly to your website from the beginning anyway. That's going to be the way that we get clarity in your funnel. All of this we've talked about today is noise in your funnel. We want to eliminate the noise. It should be as simple as this, guys. You have a digital marketing team that is experienced in multifamily, or it's you yourself. You know how to target on Google or the largest search engine. Let's look, maybe 2 years from now, you're listening to this and it's somewhere else. There's some AI ChatGPT that's taken over Google. You should be targeting those qualified renters on that platform. You should be getting them to your website. The offer should be very clear on your website. You should have an enhanced website that is a user-friendly website. You should be capturing their information. There should be a handoff between AI and conversion to the human being. That human being should be picking up the phone, scheduling that tour. That tour should be reminded 24 to 40 hours before, then an hour before, then 10 minutes before if they didn't answer you. They should be showing up, and then we should be closing one out of every 3 of those. That's the game plan. That's what we want. It should be as simple as that. Every additional layer of places they can find you in confusing ways that is not your property website is going to add confusion. It's going to frustrate you. I can already tell you a lot of you guys are frustrated. The first step you need to do is eliminate your ILS. Eliminate your ILS, bring clarity to your strategy, do that lease analysis. It's going to tell you what we already know, which is you should have done it a year ago. And if you're listening to this a year from now, you should have done it right now. Again, there's never a better time to cut your ILS than today. I don't make any more money when you run ILS. Our Lead Start we do not profit off of you leaving your ILS. Why am I so passionate about it? Because I believe the best way for multifamily to advance, to actually revolutionize the space, is to break away from this. And let's do what every other industry in the world has already done and make your property website your main leasing tool.
Yep, and then that's an excellent point, and it's pretty much the point that we stand on. It's the whole reason why we started this business, so it's good to circle back around to that. Well, Caleb, time really does fly, and I can't even believe that we sat here and talked about multifamily for nearly an hour again, but, that's why we have this podcast, right? So that we can get it all off our chest and share the knowledge that we know for anyone who's willing to listen. And if you guys are looking to fire your ILS and you're just not sure how to do it, please book a meeting with us. We'll walk you through it. We've done it for so many properties. We've done it for so many ownership groups. And it seems like it cannot be done, and then we've done it. And, looking back in the rearview mirror, people always wish they would have done it sooner. So I can't recommend enough. Go to our website, book that demo, and you'll be talking with Caleb.
Absolutely. Come book a demo, leadstartmarketing.com, book a consultation in the top right. We're going to make this really clean and simple for you guys. You're going to get handed an account lead. You're probably going to be working with Jonno. You're going to have all the resources you need to actually cut your ILS. We're telling you cut your ILS, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that. We're going to give you a 30 to 60 runway where you feel confident. We're going to be able to report on those leads, tours, and leases. So when you go fire your ILS, it's an exciting day. It's not going to be a fear. It's not going to be, I need my pacifier or my blanket. We're going to make it a really clear game plan. Come see us at leadstartmarketing.com.
Well, we'll end it there. That was a good talk, Caleb. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one.